Coach, what was the difference in the first half when you guys were able to lose 8 yards in the first half, and then the second half a little bit to the last couple of drives when they started getting some yards? What did they do differently, or start recognizing you guys were able to take advantage of?
Well, I thought we tackled really well in the first half, and actually it was around the 4:14 point in the third quarter is when we missed the tackle, and in that style of offense, that system, everybody has to be in their gap, and then there comes a person who is able to get off a block or who is unblocked, and that guy can't miss a tackle because they have everyone accounted for. So if you have someone to miss the tackle, there's not a lot of overlap, and you got guys playing man-to-man, and they were able to break a tackle. We miss a tackle. Somebody jump out of his gap, and they make a play. And that happens. You watch the NFL, that happens in the NFL. And so what our defense has to be able to do is limit those occurrences. And when you rewind, and we always refer to last year, but when you rewind the tape in your mind and you look at how things transpired last year at different times, those times when the runner breaks, it's a score, And fortunately, many of the times when offenses get plays on us, we're able to get them down and give us one more chance to play. But that's essentially from the first half to the second half, we had a guy jump out of his gap, and you got guys fighting with everything they got. But over there on Tulane's side, they're on scholarship as well, and they're trained to block guys. So sometimes a guy gets out of his block, or you're playing a really good running back and he breaks a tackle, and that's what happens. And that's what we had happen last week.
Coach Morris has talked about how the improvement of your defense is due in part to the increased depth on your line. When you started working with these guys in August, did you expect this much of an improvement on that defensive front?
Well, it was really, at that time, it was really about how well the defensive front, how well they developed. You had a guy like Demrick Gary, who is a true freshman, and you can never count on those guys just because, they're so young. And we didn't know what we would get, but to have him come on, that's been really good for us. Now, we lost Nick Horton, so we have to say how good could we be if we had Nick and we had Demrick. But when we lost Nick, guys like him and guys like Delonte Scott and guys like Badajoe, they just had to come alive for us. And fortunately, at different points throughout this season, we've been able to depend on those young guys. But in fall camp, you can't check their name off as people that you will know that will come through for a full season.
Green had the big fourth down stop the other night. Zeltminer's played well. Have any of the guys surprised you?
Well, you talk about Deion Green, and we said that at the start of the season, that if we could minimize his reps, because young guys came on, guys like Chris Biggers, those guys came on not to be superstar players, but just to be able to give guys like Deion and Zelt, just give those guys rest so that they could be at the high level when we needed Deion to be on the fourth down stop and on the third down stop. When those big guys have played 60 and 70 plays, it gets to be tough. I could go out and do it. I don't know if they can. That was a joke. It's supposed to be a lot of laughter going on in this room,
Coach Morris said that you guys as a staff haven't spent a lot of time talking to your players about last year's game against Memphis. But when you and your defensive staff prepare for this week, how much do you look at last year's just for personnel and that kind of thing, and how much do you look at just their first 8 games?
Well, we have enough footage on their first 8 games that we don't really have to refer to last year as much. Now, we're doing some of the same things that we did defensively last season. So in that way, you look at it and say, well, how will they attack you when they see you doing this. But and then there are things that, those same things we're doing now. So I don't know if they or we will look at last year as much as you would think. Their personnel has changed a little bit. They got a lot of young guys playing. So we have more than anything referred to the last few games that they've played and use that, for game planning and even, for personnel operation.
Talking about some of those young guys on the defensive line, particularly Denver area, some sack or tackle for loss or a big one. What stood out to him? What's he improved on since he first got here?
Well, he's a really good player, but I've always said it with young guys is as talented as they are, in college football. Each game, each play is a learning experience for them, and when you play with young guys, you just have to accept the fact that sometimes they're going to go the wrong way. But Demrick specifically, he works hard. He works hard in the film room. He does a great job with his hand. All those things that as a D-line coach, which I'm not, but all the things that you have a D-line coach feel like those qualities are favorable for a defensive line, he possesses. He's just a young guy. And we try not for him and Badajoe and even the Scott twins, we try not to stack a lot on top of them, but just have them be trained to go out and play hard, work hard, like I said, he does in the film room, and play with the technique that Coach Wyatt teaches them, and they'll continue to get better. So him specifically, like you said, he always finds a way to make plays. Well, some of that stuff, as much as we as coaches would like to take credit for it, some of that he came here with.
R.C. Cox is a guy who walked on, has gotten a bigger and bigger role, has started some games. What's been the key to his growth, his development, and in your eyes, what does he do best or add most to this defense?
Well, he runs really well, and he's a guy who played last season, and you probably would have said last year that he didn't run really well. But when you have success, everybody's good now. But he works hard in the film room. He's one of Coach Mack's linebackers who does a good job in terms of being able to play multiple positions. And he's played the star for us. He's played will for us. And when you find a guy who can do that, then that means he has an understanding of what we're doing. And when you know what the guy next to you is responsible for doing, and you're confident that he can do his job, you find yourself not in the linebacker vernacular of not jumping out of your gap, of not trying to do the other guy's job, and it gives you the opportunity. It helps you to do yours a little bit better, and that's kind of where he is. He's always in the right spot. He's a solid player, as Coach Mack calls him. He's a solid player, and at that position, we need to be able to count on him being in the right place, being where he's supposed to be. And we don't have many superstars. We don't have many dazzling, dynamic players, but he's a solid player. We can trust that he's going to be where he needs to be. And when the ball comes back to him, he's always there to make the play. Does it look like a Van Malone tackle? Fortunately, no.
Anything else? Thanks a lot, guys.
Sure. I'm going to show you one.